one of my favorite books I'm reading right now. And this book, I actually finished this book about a month ago, and I forgot to share it. So I pulled it up today, and this is a fantastic book. Don't get caught up in the title. This book, the title is called Write Useful Books, A Modern Approach to Designing and Refining Recommendable Nonfiction. And this is a great book for how to produce a complex piece of content, is what it is. It happens to be framed up in how to write a book. You could use it to write an amazing evergreen blog post. You could use it to actually, the piece of content I was thinking of the whole time was how to create a really good sales webinar. The methodology it teaches in here is exceptional. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give away a copy of the book. It is $19.99 on Amazon. Thankfully, it's cheaper than the one last week. The one last week was $39. So those get expensive giving away. So today we're going to give away a couple copies of Write Useful Books to, first off, to one person that shares a link to the YouTube live right now. So I want you to text it to a friend, post it on social, post it on Twitter. Ben will drop some links where it makes it easy if you want to share it on social in the chat. But I want you to share Shop Talk with one friend and let us know in chat that you shared it. And Ben will pick one person here after I share a few takeaways from the book to give a copy of the book to, and we'll mail it to your house. We'll Amazon it today to you so you have it in the next couple of days and you can read it by the weekend. So while you're sharing and letting us know that you shared, by the way, hey, pause 1 second. Is everything working, Ben? Is tech like working and stuff? Is YouTube up? And this is like our second time to stream other places. So we'll pause real quick just to make sure like people can hear and whatnot. Tony, I never got the book I won a couple months back. Email me, Brian at Growth Tools. We'll make sure you get the book. I don't know what happened, so I don't know. If I was supposed to do it, I'm sorry. We'll make sure that gets to you. So Tony, email me, Brian at Growth Tools with the book and your address. We'll make sure that goes out. Yeah, everybody, can you hear us, Ben? We live? Everything working well? Yeah?
Tech looks good.
Okay, cool. We got a weird, at least on my end, we got a weird video lag thing going on. So I don't know. That's kind of strange. So we'll see if that, I'm not on YouTube. I'm on the Ecamm thing, but it's like weirdly laggy. So sure. That's kind of bizarre. Anyway, so that might make interaction a little odd, but we'll muster through. All right, so I want to share 2 takeaways from this book with you, and then we'll give a copy away and get into meat of the workshop. So first off is one concept this book taught that really resonated with me is how to structure teaching so people like it and do something with it. And I don't want this. The graph he had in the book was fantastic, or the concept of the graph was fantastic. But he drew it like my 4-year-old could literally draw the better version of this graph. But it's like a really amazing graph. So here's the concept he said. He said when you're I'm going to keep using book language, but again, insert sales page, blog post, webinar, any complex piece of content because you can use this methodology for it. He said most of the time, like think about teaching someone how to play a board game, or I think he used the example of chess specifically. He said we spend like 2 hours just explaining how the whole game works, explaining how kings move and how to win and how rooks work and pawns and bishops, and you go through all these rules, and it's really boring to the person learning. You spend a giant amount of time learning, and then you play, and that's the part they actually want to do. Believe it or not, they actually want to play the game, not learn all this boring stuff. They don't even have a bucket to put it in. By the way, thanks for sharing, Michael and Stephen and Eduardo. Alex, good to see you in the chat, man. Digital Woman, thanks for sharing. Thank you. Okay, so he shares that concept, and he has this graph right here where engagement goes down the longer you're simply just learning a thing. It just gets kind of boring. So he suggested to do this instead. Instead of taking all this time to learn how to play or teach somebody how to do a thing, teach them a bit and then let them play. Like he said, if you're teaching your 6-year-old how to play chess, just get the rook out on each side and teach your 6-year-old how the rook moves forward and back, left and right. And that's it. And then just play with a rook. And then go back to learning mode. So stagger your learning in your play. You're learning in your play. You're learning in your play. You're learning in your play. So that your engagement level stays high the entire time and it doesn't dip. It may dip a little bit during learning mode, but it spikes back up pretty quickly. Might dip a little during learning mode and spikes back up immediately. So if you're writing a book, for instance, which is the immediate application of this book, is don't go, like in every chapter should have an aha moment. Something whereby just reading that, they're like, oh man, I want to recommend this to a friend. And you shouldn't go 4 chapters of teaching foundational material before you get to an aha moment. You shouldn't go 20 minutes in your webinar before you get into getting an aha moment. That's one reason that we put this book share at the beginning of Shop Talk, so that you get like a couple cool crunchy takeaways immediately that you can go do something with, instead of the 45-minute workshop that you have to get into the meat a little bit more before you get there. So we want to make sure in any kind of teaching stuff, whether it's live like this or a structured sales webinar or a book, that you intersperse your learning and your play, your teaching and your immediate thing they can take and have an aha moment from. So that was one takeaway that was really interesting. Here's the other takeaway. It's the structure, the process for creating a complex piece of content, or in this case of this book, like a book specifically. So this looks like a lot now that it's written out on the slide here, but it was a really cool concept. I'll give you kind of a quick overview, and then Ben will pick the winner and we'll send a copy of the book too. So he suggests before you write anything, have 5 structured conversations with your best fit client for the book. And he gives you some prompts to do that. Like just if you're writing a book on how to make a webinar, I don't know, for some reason that's the example that comes to mind, or how to have a better marriage. Go have 5 specific conversations with 5 people who would be the best fit buyer of that book. Maybe your book is specifically targeted to empty nesters. You're going to talk to 5 people who are empty nesters whose marriage is declining in quality. So you're going to talk to them and ask them questions, and he gives you prompting questions for that so you can learn about them. From that, you're going to make a table of contents. From the table of contents, you're then going to go back and have 5 more structured conversations with your best fit client and run back through and it gives you a good framework for outlining your table of content and how to write it. Then based on those 5 more structured conversations, you will then expand your table of contents. So imagine your table of contents is just your outline of the book. Go have 5 conversations, make your outline. Then go have 5 more conversations, adjust and expand your outline to this exhaustive, like very detailed table of contents. From there, you're going to finalize the scope of the book, write the first draft of it. And then I think this is the key, perhaps of the entire book outside of having the conversations before you do anything. It is test the draft. So you'll send a copy of the book, imagine in a Google Doc format, to 10 people that agree to give you feedback. And they will mark up anything in the book that they love, that's confusing, that gives them an aha moment, or any parts that feel slow to them. You'll then revise the draft based on that feedback. And I've noticed this in books since I've read this book, of where people could do this and make the book way better. One is alternate learning and playing. Alternate learning and aha moments, and make sure you intersperse your aha moments. Many, many books don't do that. Many, many webinars don't do that. Many, many blog posts don't do that. So that alone is a big unfair advantage. The second thing is have people mark up the ahas, the confusing parts, the love parts, and the slow parts. One specific example he gave of this as an aha moment in his first book. I should have pulled a copy of it out, but it's called The Mom Test. Fantastic book. I read it 5 years ago when it came out, and it's still an A+ book. Get it on your list, buy it on Amazon, read the thing. It's fantastic. But one thing he mentioned as an example of this was when he passed out the draft of The Mom Test, one place that was marked, one thing people loved a lot that kept getting marked up over and over again was that he would kind of give a faux conversation, like a fake conversation of how you would apply this. It would be like, me, I said this, they said this. And it would example out what he was teaching in the form of a conversation. And 10 out of 10 people marked up, I love it, more of these. So he went back through the book and interspersed these, like, I call them fake conversations, but it's really like examples of how this methodology he was teaching in the book would play out in real life. Oh, and there's dozens of them now, and it makes the material pop. He would have never had any idea of that had he not given a draft to people and they had a chance to actually mark up that they love it. There was a book I was reading the other day called Objections by, what's the fanatical prospecting guy? What's that guy's name? Ben, you remember him? Something, Jeb Blunt or something maybe? Is that his name?
Yeah, it looks like Bethany said it is.
Yeah,
Jeb.
it's
Jeb Blunt, yeah. So Jeb Blunt, he has this book called Fanatical Prospecting, it's on sales stuff, and he would like teach these methodology objection handling, but then he would like twice in the whole book did he actually line out how the call would go. Like, I said this and they said this and I rebutted with this and they rebutted with that. Like, it examples it really well. Like, he gave 2 of them and I love them, but I wish there was 100 of them in the book because it actually made the stuff concrete. So as you test the draft, what do they love? What's confusing? What's aha? What's slow? Imagine doing that in a webinar format. Like, send it to somebody and have them tell you at what moment it was they really loved it. It was confusing. It was aha moment or slow. And you go through that cycle a handful of times and you tighten it up and finalize everything. The goal of this is to make a book that is so good that everyone that buys it recommends it to a friend. Rob, the guy who wrote this book, Rob Fitzpatrick, has now written 3 books that all use this format. And all of them started just with hundreds of sales, like not many sales at all. But over the course of 5 years, he shows his Amazon sales like trajectory. All of them over time, like 3 years later, were selling, like generating $10,000 to $20,000 a month in direct Amazon sales revenue to him as a result of writing recommendable books. And so, fantastic book. That's a lot of detail on this. This is the actual methodology he teaches in the book. And I think one of the main interesting, cool insights that could be applied immediately anywhere is this idea of interspersing play, or interspersing the teaching and the doing, the teaching and the aha moments.